Okay, guys. So we are started now. So today I will be trying to cover transpose. So we'll talk about transpose transformation. Then we'll see what is the difference between duplicating a query and referencing a query. Once this is covered, we're going to see what is advanced editor in Power Query. Then we're going to see what is data source setting, when it is required and when you have to do. Then after that we'll see how we can connect our Power BI to SQL server or any of the database like Oracle, Azure SQL, MongoDB. Yeah, all these. Now then we're going to understand at the last what is query folding. This is important topic, so I kept at the last. Once this is done, we'll have Q&A session. Okay, so there will be Q&A sessions, and that is related to Power Query. We'll try to have today, or either what we can do, I will give you a one more day time to revise everything, and tomorrow we can have these Q&A sessions. So let's start now. Okay. So the first transformation, that we will going to study is transpose. In previous class, we have seen what is append, what is merge, and we have also seen what is group by. We have seen what is date transformations, and the important thing is what is unpivot. So I've explained you unpivot in the previous session. Okay, and like what the question they will going to ask, what is the difference between unpivot and transpose. So we're going to first see what is transpose, and then we're going to compare, like we'll see the difference between transpose and unpivot. Okay, so let me go back to this Power Query. This is my Power Query that you guys know. Now we'll have some data. So what I will do, suppose I have this data with the name parameter table. Let me duplicate this one. Okay, so what I will do, what I'm doing, I'm right clicking it and just duplicating it. Okay, now I will name this as transpose. Name this query as transpose. Okay, I name this query as a transpose. So I have a table in which I have a two column. One is a reason column, another is a profit column, and there are two row. One row is for south, the profit is 15, and another row for is also for south, and the profit is 8. Okay, so these two rows are there. What I will do, I will transpose this data. So how I can transpose this data? So either like, let me select this table. So I select this table, both the column, and I will go to transform. Under transform, if you see under table area, you have option to transpose. So if I click on transpose, what will happen? I got one row for south, one column for like south, another 15 and 8. So what will happen? Let me what do. We have a first row as a south, second row as a value. So what I will do, let me make first row as a header. So let me go to home tab. I'm making this south as a header. As of now the header is column 1 and column 2. I want to make it as a header. So I will go under transform area, use first row as a header. So what will happen? This is my first row. Both this first row will become header of this column. So the header of the first column will become south, and the header of the second column will also become south. So what will happen? Let me click on use first row as a header. Okay. So see, when I say use first row as a header, the first row has become header now. So in transpose, what will happen? The data or a table will rotate by 90-degree. So to understand this, better, let me just create some data and then we can see that. So what I will do, I will have, employee ID as a one column and another, you know, the first name. Okay. The employee ID is CD01, CD02, then I will have a CD03 and I will have CD04. The name I will take it as, you know, I will have a Ritik, I will have a Parnab, I will have a Om, Anjali, and then we'll have a Akshay. Oh, so let's have CD05. It's CD05. So this is the data. Let me insert this data here in Power Query. So what I will do, uh, let me go to this home tab under enter data ribbon. I will paste it here. So I have a employee ID and first name and I will name this as transpose to. Let me click OK to load this data. I have this data. Let me click delete it. Why I have given transpose to? Because I already have a query name with transpose or table name having transpose. Okay, I cannot name two query with the same name. Okay, and that's why I first rename it as a transpose to. What I will do, I will delete it. So I will right click and there is option to delete. I can delete it and I click OK. Now here I have transpose to. I now renamed it to transpose and let me click the enter. Now I have this data. What I will do, I will select this complete table. How to select? Press and hold the control key on your keyboard. Click it here, employee ID and then first name. Both this column are selected. What I will do, I will go to transpose and like transform tab. Under transform tab I have a transpose, so let me click transpose. What has happened, let's try to understand. Okay, what has happened, let's try to understand. So when I transpose my data, what will happen, this CD01, CD02, CD03, CD04, CD05, all they were row. So if I come back here, so if you see CD01, CD02, CD03, CD04, CD05, all these are row. Now these are converted into column. So if I go here, so see, earlier this CD01 was row, is like is on one row number one. CD02 was on row number two, but it now have become column two. CD03 was in row number three, but now has become column three. CD04 was in row number four, now become column four, and CD05 was in row number five, has become column five. So what will happen? The row will transform into column. Earlier, if you see Ritik, Parnab, Om, Anjali, Akshay, these were as a row, different row of same column. So I have first name column. I have a Ritik in first row, Parnab in second row, Om in third row, Anjali in fourth row, Akshay in fifth row. But if I come back here, if I see these are on different column. Okay, so what will happen? When I transpose my data, the data will going to rotate by 90-degree. The row will become column. The row will become column. The row will become column. So if you see here, I have a different row. So this was in first row. it came into column 1. So if I came here, CD01 is column 1. If I go back to here, it is CD02, it is in row 2. Now it will come to column 2. It will come to column 2. Okay, so all these two, CD01 and Akshay, it was in row 1. Okay, it was in row 1. If you come here, both CD01 and Ritik, CD01 and Ritik, both are in column 1 now. So if you see, CD01 was in row 1, they now become in column 1. If you go back here, CD02 and Parnav, these were in row 2, now they will become in column 2. So all the data CD02 and Parnav is in column 2. If I go back here, if I see CD03 and Om, he was in row 3. If you go here, it will become now column 3. Okay. If I go back here, if you see CD04 and Anjali, C was in row 4. Now C will become column 4. So C will be column 4. Same way, this apply for Akshay. Okay, so in transpose, what will happen? The row will become column. So this was a row. Okay, this was a row. If you rotate by 90 degree, the row will become column. So transpose, in transpose, what will happen? In transpose, the row data will change into column data. I have this row CD01, Ritik, it was in row 2, row 1. Now they will be in column 1. They will be in column 1 like this. Got it, guys? If you add some more data, like if I add last name, if I add last name here, so I have Ritik Kumar. I don't know the surname, so like Barnab Singh, let's have that. Om Singh, then Anjali Kumari, and I have Akshay Kumar. Yeah. So these are the name. Let's have all this data. Let me go to Power Query, go to source, click on this star button to see the source. This is my source. Let me change the source. I have this value right now. Let me click OK. We have this data. Now, if you transpose it, see what will happen. If you transpose it, this CD01, Ritik and Kumar, all these were in row 1. So if you see here, CD01, Ritik and Kumar, all these were in row 1. They will become, they will come into column 1. CD01, Ritik and Kumar, they are in column 1. If you see, we have CD02, Parnab, CD02, Parnab and Singh, they will come as a column 2. CD02, Parnab, Singh, and so on. So in transpose, what will happen? The row will convert to column. Okay. In transpose, the data will rotate by 90 degree. Yeah, the data will rotate by the rotate data will rotate by 90 degree. Values in row 1 after transformation, after transpose, will appear in column 1 and so on. Okay, so this is transpose. So what they will ask, what is the difference between transpose and unpivot? So there will be one questions. This is a favorite question of interviewer. What is the difference between transpose and in unpivot? So what will happen in transpose? All the row will going to convert into column. All the row will going to convert into column. So once you are doing the transpose, so if you see here all the row, so this CD01, Ritik Kumar CG02, all the data. The transpose will apply on all the data. None of the column or none of the row will left. The transpose will appear on all the column and all the row. So if my this table have three column and five rows, the transpose will going to impact all the three column and all the five rows. Okay, but if you go to unpivot, if you go to unpivot, in unpivot what will happen? So this is, if you go to unpivot, if you unpivot your data, so what will happen, so I have employee id, so only the selected column will going to convert it. So like from Monday to Saturday, this employee id column will not going to impact. Okay, the employee id column will not going to impact. So in unpivot, what will happen if I select from Monday to Saturday, only these data will going to unpivoted, only these column will going to be unpivoted. So if I select these two, uh, if I select all these column, only from Monday to Saturday, only these column will be going to unpivoted. The employee ID will column will remain as a first column. So if you see the data, I have an employee ID column, but all the remaining column Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, these are transformed into row. So earlier, if you see Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, they were as a column. If you see, I have a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. These are a column. But now once I do the unpivot, they become row. So it is behaving similar to transpose, but it is not a transpose. Okay, in transpose what will happen, all of your data, all the column, column employee id, first name, last name, all these column will going to convert into, all these rows will going to convert into column. So if you see, the data or impact is everywhere. But if you see this unpivot, what will happen, only the selected column, that is Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, these column Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, only these column will going to convert into row. The unselected column, that is employee id, will remain same. This will not going to convert into column. Sorry, not row, it will remain as a column. So if you see, I have a employee id column and there is this is column. But if you see Monday, Tuesday, earlier they were column, now they become row. So this is a difference between unpivot and transpose. Okay, I suppose I have cleared myself. Yeah, guys, this is understood. Yeah, Parnav, Siddhant, other people, Ritik, cool guys. So there will be question. You need to answer it. Okay. So now transpose is clear. Now there is a question. What is the difference between duplicating a query and referencing a query? This is a favorite question. Okay. They will ask and you should know. Okay. So what I will do, let me, I have this transpose. So what I will do, let me insert some data, let me enter data and copy it from here, the same data that we have taken it for transpose. I will have this data and paste it here and name this as duplicating and referencing. Or either what I will do, it's better to name parent query. Okay, so I name this as a parent query. Let me click OK. So I will have this query or a table with name parent. what I will do, I will first reference a query. So I have this query, I'm getting this data. Now what I will do, I will right click and click on reference. Okay. So another query will created with the same name, parent query, in the parenthesis with 2. Okay. What I will do, I will name this as a parent query underscore referencing. Okay. So this is a name that I have given. What will happen, I will come to this parent query, and what I will do, I will delete this employee ID column. So I will select, right click and removed it. So now I will have a first name and last name column, only two column into this parent query. If I came to referencing a query, see, here I didn't change any column. Like earlier I had employee ID column here. From here only I deleted it, but I'm able to see impact here also. So I have first name and last name here also. So what will happen if you reference a query? What will happen if there is any change here in the parent query? If there is any change in the parent query, that change will going to see here. So if I come back to parent query and let me come to apply this step and let me remove this transformation that I have done it, that I have deleted this employee ID column. I'm undo the changes or undo my transformation. Now I table have of three column, employee ID, first name and last name. If I come back to referencing query, now I will employee ID, first name and last name. So what you are seeing, if I'm making any changes here into the parent, the changes are reflecting in the referencing of query. What I will do, from here, from parent query, right click and let me duplicate a query. And let me rename this as you know duplicate. So once I have reference a query, this is duplicating query. What will happen, so if you see this query, I have a three column, five rows. Here also, if you see, three column, five rows. Let me go back to reference a query, let me delete it, delete this employee ID column. Now let's come back to duplicating query. Now see, still I have an employee ID. Here I've deleted employee ID column, but here still I'm able to see. So what is the meaning, duplicating a query? When you duplicate a query from parent, if you are making any change in the parent, it will not going to impact the duplicated query, but reference query will going to impact. Okay. Now what is another difference? If you say parent query, you have this query, and into the applied step, you have a source, change type, and removed column. These are the three different transformations that these two by default comes because I connected to the data source. So this will come. This will come because Power Query with AI intelligence will going to detect the data type of the column, and so this transformation will come. By default, it's come when you load data. And here I removed column, so this is the third transformation that I have done it, that I removed the employee ID column. Okay, so this is a three transformation. Into applied step, I'm able to see all these transformation. What are the changes that I have made it? Okay, if I come to referencing a query, I'm not able to see all those changes. So I will not able to see all these applied step. Source, change type, removed column. This will not appear here. This will not appear here. In front of source, there is no star button. So if you here see, there is a star button. If you click it, you will get to know that these are the data that manually I'm inserting it here. I'm able to see the source. But if you come to the reference query, you won't be able to see any source. But if you come to the formula bar, this is a formula bar. Here you will see that equal to hash parent query. Hash parent query in double quote. What it means? It is referencing a parent query. What where is the parent query? This is the parent query. Any change that will going to make here will going to reflect here. But if you see duplicating a query, if you see here now, you will be able to see what are the changes that you have done it. So if you go to source, let me click that. So this is a source that you are able to see, correct, that we are able to see. And if you see the change type, so these two changes, that earlier was in parent, because when I duplicated it, removed column was not there, right? So these two, transformation was there when I duplicated this query. So these two transformation will able to see that. If I click on source, I will able to see that these data are manually inserted. So when you duplicate a query, what will happen? All the applied step from source till all the changes that you have done it will going to appear here, right? And when you reference it, it will not going to come. When you reference it, it will not going to come. And these are the two major difference between referencing a query and duplicating a query. Yeah. Any doubt, guys? If you have, you ask now, or we should move ahead. It's all clear. Ritik, other people, home. Guys, please respond quickly. Siddhant, yeah, Anjali, Navdeep, cool guys. Thank you. Yeah, next move. So we have seen what is transpose a query, and we have also discussed what is difference between transpose and unpivot. Then we go on discussing what is difference between duplicating a query and referencing a query. Now we're going to see what is advanced editor. Okay, this is very important because when you debug your power query for any of the issues, you should know what is advanced editor, what are the things that you can find it. Okay, so let me what should I do. So suppose I have all this query. So suppose I have a parent query. Inside this parent query, in the home tab, if you come under the query area, we will have an advanced editor. So I will click on advanced editor. In advanced editor, you will able to see all the M code that you know the power query has generated for us. Okay. So in the advanced editor, what we are going to see, we'll be able to see all the M code for the transformation that we have done it. So what are the transformation that I have done it? I connected to the source. By default, Power BI with its own intelligence, it's detected the data type. Let me do one more transformation, that let me remove employee ID column. So these are the three transformation that I'm doing. For each transformation, you will find a piece of code, M code, that Power Query has generated. Now if you go to home tab, under home tab we have an advanced editor. If you click it here, in advanced editor you will able to have all the M code for your query, all the M code for your query. So you will find that source, so from where I am getting the data. Okay, so table dot from rows. So manually I imported that data, and by default Power BI will take as a JSON format. The file type will be JSON. Okay, now this is a manually inserted data, so this will look like this. Now if you see here, so this will have employee ID column, first name column. So this is the data type of the column. So if you see the data type of the column, if you will see the data type of the column, if you will see, we have employee ID as a text type. The second transformation that we have done it, then we have a first name. The data type of this column first name will be the type text, so that we are able to see. And then we have a last name. The data type of this column is text. Type means data type, and this text data type. Okay, now after what I have done, I have removed column. So this is name of the step. So hashtag removed column, this is the name of the step. Hashtag change type, this is the name of the step. Source, this is the name of the step. So if you come here, change source, change type, removed column, this is the name of the step. Okay, so if you come here, see source, this is a change type, this is a removed column, this is the name of the each transformation that is there. And what the transformation that I have done it, see that I have used table dot removed column, and what I have done it, I have removed employee id column. From where? From change type. So earlier my data was like this. How the data was, let me show. Earlier my data was like this. On the top of this data, or on the top of this schema where I have a 3 column and 5 rows, what I have done it, I have removed employee id column. So I will have a first name and last name and 5 rows. So if you go to advanced editor, see that's why it's saying change type, the second transformation, and then we have a third transformation. So since this third transformation has applied on this data change type, so that's why this name has came, if you see here. And now what I have done, I've removed employee id column. Suppose in place of employee id column, here I put first name. So let me go to advanced editor. What I will do, in place of employee id, what I am doing, I will write it first. Okay, here what I am doing, I am writing first name. Let me click done. See, the first name has been deleted. First name has been deleted. Now I have an employee id and the last name. So these are the accumulated code, the complete code for all the transformations. Either you can edit your code from here, right? If I write last name here and let me click done, my last name column has been deleted. No last name column is there. I have a employee id and first name. So either what you can do, you can change your code from here, or change your code with UI. So like right click and do that. Like if I want to delete, right click and do it. So for each UI that you are doing, it will going to generate M code. All the code will be accumulated at a one place, and that is it. Okay, where it is used. Okay, suppose I copy this code. Okay, where it will going to. Suppose I want to create a copy of this data parent query. I want to create a copy of this data. I don't want to do all this transformation here manually, just first connecting to the source, then changing the data type, then removing the column. I will have this data. I can do this. But suppose there are 50 transformation steps. One by one, I don't want to do that. So what you can go, you can click it here, copy the all code from here, right? Copy the all code from here. Now what you can do, you can do anything. You go here. So I will have here 2 column. You go here, create a blank query. So what I will do, I will go into new query. I will right click at empty space, new query. I will have blank query. So where is a blank query? Here is a blank query. I will click on blank query. This is my blank query. I will go to advanced editor and paste everything. I will go to the advanced editor and paste everything. So I done that. Let me click OK. I will have sent data. So this is a query. If you go to parent query, you have an employee ID and first name. Here also, we will have an employee ID and first name. What are the change? You connected to the source, change type, data type, and removed column. These are the applied changes. If you go here, you will have source, change type, removed column. Exactly same. exactly same. Suppose you have one Power BI report, you want to duplicate that report, you make all those changes into another report, you can do that. What you have to do, you don't have to do manually connect to the source, change the type, removed column, all those you don't have to do. You don't have to waste all that time. What you can do, go to home tab, click on advanced editor, copy the complete M code, paste it, click a blank query and paste everything. Okay, so this is the two use cases of advanced editor. Okay, any questions that you want to ask, you can ask, guys. Siddhant, clear? Home, cool, guys. Yeah, thank you, guys. Now, so we are done with advanced editor. Now let's connect, data source setting. So what I will do, uh, now let's, suppose I'm, getting this inventory. This is one of the query with the name inventory. Let me refresh it. I have this data. Now let me go to advanced editor, and inside advanced editor, if you see, this is the location of the file. So I'm trying to connect with Excel worksheet, and what is inside my C drive, I have a folder with the name user. Inside that we have a subfolder with the Tribhuvan Prasad Rai. Inside that we have Tribhuvan underscore personal, and then data analytics and so on. So this is my this is my you know directory or a file path or locations here, right? And from here I'm what I'm doing, from this I'm getting, there are many sheet. What I'm taking, I have taking inventory sheet. So there are many other sheet. From here I'm taking an inventory sheet. What is the kind? The kind is sheet, not a worksheet, but it is a sheet, right? Then these are promoted headers. This is another change and this is another change, where what I have done, I have transformed the column types. Okay, store ID as a int64, product ID as a int64, and stock on hand is still int64. So these are the changes that I'm doing. Suppose in your system, like I have sent you this Power BI report, and you don't have this folder combination. Okay, what will happen if you refresh, if you click on preview refresh, if you click on preview refresh, your query will going to fail. You won't be able to see the data, and it will give you an error that the path or the file does not find. Why the path or the file does not find? Because you won't have this directory on your laptop, and inside this directory there will be no inventory.xlx. Suppose might be you have downloaded it, so it will available in the download folder, it will not available into this folder, because you won't have this path or folder on your laptop. Power query will not be able to find it, and the refresh will going to fail. Okay, so always remember, whenever you are refreshing data, if it is failing, go to advanced editor and check the source. If needed, you can change the source as well. So suppose if I from here, if I removed resume, so if I remove from here resume and then click OK, and see, so if I try to refresh, it will going to fail. What is it? Could not find the file. So this is the directory that I am giving. At this directory the file is not there, the directory is wrong, and that's why when I clicked on refresh preview, it failed. Okay, so what I have to do, I have to do nothing. Let me go back to advanced editor, and here inside data analytics, let me paste the directory. So I have added what is that, let me do that. Let me see. We have this directory. Yeah, we have a directly. I have data now. Correct. So this is one thing that I wanted to tell you. Many times I send this file, and when people refresh, they are getting error and say think that one data is not loading. So this is the another issues. The another issue. Suppose you are connected to some SQL source. So I suppose this is my SQL source. Let me see that. Yeah, no, this is not my SQL. So let me see that. Oh, let me see the source. What is the source? Yeah. So this is one of the SQL from this SQL database. The name of the server was localDB slash MS SQL localDB. This was the name of the server, and from this server, what I have done it, I have loaded. There was a database inside that server with the name Adventure Works 2022. Inside that, we had many tables, right? So if you go to navigations, we have this, tables inside the human resources schema. We have a view with the name v job candidate. From there I'm loading this data. So if you see the if you click on so suppose how to connect with SQL. Let me again repeat it because I told you that I will going to say. So what I will to do, uh, let me click on new source, and I will select SQL server. Inside SQL server I need to put the name of my server. So this is the name of my server. Whenever you work in any of the organization, they will going to provide you the name of the server and the name of the database. So from which server and from which database you have to pull the data. As of now I'm mentioning local MS SQL local DB. Okay, and let me click OK. Let me click OK. So see, I am able to connect with my server. Inside that server, I have a database name with the AdventureWorks 2022. If I click it here, I will have human resource. This is the name of the schema. Dot v employee. These are a view. So V stand for view, and this is the name of the view. The name of the view is employee. So the complete name is v employee. We give prefix to identify or to that this entity or object is a view. Okay, so these are many views. These are tables. Sales order detail, this is a table. This is a customer table. So if I want to import some data from customer table, let me click it here. I'm able to see the preview. So I will have a customer ID, customer name, contact name. Then I have an address, then I have a city, postcode, and country. Let me click OK to load this data. And I will have a customer query with the data in place here. So this is the name of the schema. By default, the schema name is DBO, and the name of the table is customer. So here they will refer as item. Item means nothing, but this is the table. What is the name of the table? Name of the table is customer. So this is the name of the database. This is the name of the schema, DBO schema, and the name of the table. And from this table, I am getting all this data. From table, I am getting this data. Okay, this is how you will able to connect with any SQL database. The same type of connection is required, for Oracle database, or whenever you are trying to connect with Azure SQL. Similarly, you need to have the name of the server, the name of the database, and from which table you want to read data. From which table you want to read data. Okay, and this is how you need to connect with any of the data source. Right. Suppose I send you this report, inventory report. You downloaded it, but you don't have access of this server. So I have access of this, local dbms sql. Inside that adventure works, this is my database. I have access of the server and a database, adventure works 2012. So I have the access, you don't have the access. Okay, so whenever you try to refresh data, it will going to fail. So what will happen when I click on refresh preview? What will happen, this power query will go to sql database and try to fetch the newly data, all the new data as on this time. So as on 26th of october 2024 at 1923, what is the data that is available in the database, it will going to fetch all the data from this table customer, all the row, all the column, it will going to fetch. Okay, that's why I do refresh preview. So suppose you don't have the access of this database, when you click on refresh preview, what will happen, your power query will go to database and will ask for data from this table. But since you don't have the access, it will going to give you error, refresh failure, or a preview refresh failure will be there. Why? Because you don't have the access. Or suppose you have the access but you didn't authenticated it. Okay, to verify, to authenticate, what you have to do, you have to select this customer query and go to data source setting. So under home tab there is a data source setting, you need to click on that. See, so from here I am getting this data from local db slash ms sql local db, and after comma there is adventure works 2022. So after semicolon this is adventure works 2012. So this is the name of the database, adventure works 2012, and then this is the name of the server. So this is the name of the server, then semicolon, this is the name of the database. What I have to do, I have to check whether I have uh, access or this database or not, or whether I authenticated it or not. So for that, what you have to do, you have to select this data source and need to click on edit permission. Under edit permission, see, if you see, let me click on edit. So the credential, so what it will going to ask, as of now I am using window authentication, so I choose window authentication and I am saying use my current credential. So whatever the credential is for my window, the same credential will going to use, and I will able to authenticate. I need to click save. Suppose if it is the Azure SQL database, so window authentication will not work. So at that time you need to use Microsoft authentication. At that time you need to use Microsoft authentication. So you just need to select Microsoft authentication, authenticate it and click on save. You will able to accept. Okay. Now there are other sources. There is another data source from this directory. There was a order 2204 of April 25. So this is the name of the CSV file. From this CSV file, I am inserting, getting data. Then there is another file with name food coded. Then there is another file name with the inventory. So for all these data are located on my local system with their directory and file name. From these different these are the CSV file type. If you are able to see, these are the Excel file type. But this is from SQL database I am getting this data. Once you are done it, make sure that if you make sure that your privacy level should be organizational, it shouldn't be public, or it shouldn't be none, it should be organizational. It should be organized to safeguard your data, to have a security on your data. Whenever you are connecting, make sure that privacy level should be organizational. Now let me click close it. Okay, so I'm able to done with your advanced editor and data source setting. Anyone have any question, please ask. Anyone have any questions, please ask. Or if you are good to go, you can send me the symbol, we can move ahead. So Anjali, understood other people. Navdeep, Ritik, Patel. Who else is there? Siddharth, Om, Kuitas. Yeah, and we have Om here. Cool. Let's move ahead and we're going to study the next topic. We're going to study next topic. What is the next topic? So we have done with advanced editor. We have done with data source setting, duplicate referencing a query, and then we have also seen how to connect with the SQL server. So that we have done it. Okay. Now there is another topic that is called query folding. Okay. So suppose I go back here. I have this data source. Now what will happen? Let me do some more transformation. Let me remove this column. Let me replace this value 5023. I want to replace this value with 5024. How can I do that? I can select this value. I can go to home tab. Under home tab there is a under transform there is a replace value. What I'm doing, I'm replacing all the 5023 with 5024. 5024. And let me click OK. See, 503 has now been replaced with 5024. 503 was replaced with 5024. If you go back to this step, you have a 503 here, you have a 5043 here. If you go here, all the 503 of this column will going to replace by 5024. This is called replace. You can replace it. Okay. So these are the transformation that I have done it. For each of the transformation, the Power query will going to generate some M code. For this, there is another M code. For this, there is another M code. For this, there is another M code. So what will happen? First, it will going to connect to the source, bring all the data. On the top of this data, it will going to apply the navigations. On the top of this navigation, it will remove some column. On the top of this data, it will going to replace some value. So what will happen? The first transformation will going to take place this, then this, then this, and then this. So if you are able to see all this data you are able to see after you have done four transformations. This connected to source, you use navigation, you removed column and replacement. So there are four applied step that is there. Okay, suppose you remove some other column. I remove this column, so I have this five applied step. Okay, so each transformation will going to take place once its previous transformation is done. So once I will connect to source, then only I will able to navigate. Once I will able to navigate to select customer table, then only I will able to remove column. Once I will able to remove this column on the top of this data, I will able to replace this value and then this will. So all the transformation or the state of data that we are able to see, we are only able to see after I have done all these five transformation. So these are happening sequentially. So this transformation need to wait for all these four transformation. This transformation number four need to wait for all these three steps to happen. This step number three has to wait for these two steps to happen. So what will happen? It will going to take some time. The time to load the data and transform it will going to take some time. But suppose what I'm doing, in place of just removing a column, replacing a value, removed column, all these are happening by using the memory or processing power of Power Query or Power BI desktop. The processing power or the capacity of this Power BI is only 1 GB. The processing power is very small. So when you have a big data and if you are processing with 1 GB of memory or a power or power, calculating memory, and you are processing large amount of data, the time for connecting to that data source, navigating it, removing all columns, replacing value, removing another column. All this transformation will going to take lots of time. All this transformation will going to take lots of time, and your data load process will be slow. So what is the solution? Solution is, instead of doing all this transformation in different five applied step, what I can do, I can do all the transformation at one place only. What I can do, I can do all the transformation at one go. I will first connect to data source, will do the navigations, then I have to remove column has to wait for this. Once you are able to remove column, then replace value has to wait for removed column to complete, and then only this transformation will going to take place. And then removed column one has to wait for replace value to complete, and that this will going to take place. So these transformation are happening in a step by step. Okay, that's why these are slow, and these are using the memory of the Power BI. What you can do, you can use query folding. So what will happen in query folding, for all this type of transformation, this Power Query will going to generate native query. Will going to generate native query. Okay, so it will going to generate a native query. This native query is similar to this native query is similar to SQL. This native query is lot more similar to SQL query. This native query is similar to SQL query. And what will happen? All this transformation that I am doing, removing column, replacing value, removed columns, all this transformation will happen at source side. So source side means all this transformation will happen by using the calculating memory or a processing memory of SQL database, not the Power Query. Normally, data warehouse or a database have larger processing capacity as compared to the capacity of the Power BI. That has a limited. So all these transformation will happen very fast, and finally you will have this data set ready, and only this data set will load into Power Query. So all these intermediate step or a transformation will happen at the source side. Since source data warehouse or a database has larger processing capacity, they will process big data or a large data in less amount of time. Okay, how this query folding will going to happen? Suppose I have big data and I'm able to import, I want to import data. How query folding will going to happen? So suppose it will going to happen by default. So suppose if you are getting some data from SQL database or any database that you know any database that accept any database that accept SQL query or similar query, or if I can send any query and it will going to accept that query, run that query and will going to give me the output. So any database that will going to accept query or SQL query, and based on that SQL query, it will going to give me some output or transformation. For all those database, this for all those database by default query folding is you know query folding is supported. By default query folding will work. So you don't have to do anything. So whatever the transformation that you are doing here, you will able to see that. But at the back end, what will happen? This Power Query will going to generate SQL like query, and that SQL like query will going to execute in your database, and from that you will be directly getting the data. So this is the output that after the query will going to execute, you will have this output. Only these output will going to fetch into Power Query, not all this intermediate output. So all this transformation will going to happen at the source size, so the data load will be much faster. Okay, how I will going to check whether my query is supported query folding or not. So suppose you right click on any of your transform step, and there will be native query. So view native query. So if this view native query is active, as of now this is active, all these are inactive, these are grayed out, so these are inactive, these are inactive, but these are active. So see, view native query is active. If I am able to click on this, see, these are the SQL like query. So there is a select, these are the column that I wanted, right? And there is from which table, from, this is the name of the schema, and this is the name of the table. So from customer table that are present inside DBO schema, give me all this column. So give me, customer ID column, customer name column, contact name column, address column, city column, postal code column, country column. Suppose from here I removed some of the column. So don't give me all this column. Uh, so I'm not able to do that because these are auto generated. So if you remove all this column, only you will have customer name and customer ID. So these are the SQL like query. 95% it is similar to SQL. These are called native query. What will happen by default? The Power Query will going to generate this query, and this query will going to execute in the SQL database, and then I will going to have this output. So let me cancel this out, and if you go here, let me right click it and see. From here native query is supported, so you will find the query has changed. So the query has changed. See all this transformation that I have done. I replace 5023 with 5, I replace 5023 with 5024 inside postal code column. So this is a one of the transformation. For this, there is a replace function that they are using, and this is similar to SQL code. You cannot say these are exactly SQL code, but yeah, these are similar to SQL code. Okay, I have removed some of the column, so that is there also, that it will going to appear. So removed column, yeah, and this is the query. So if you see, it is similar to inner query. When I will teach you, you will get to understand. So from this table, if you see, if you go back here, if you go back here, if you go back here, if I right click, unable to see navigate, this is the query. This query will going to run and will going to give me this output. From this output, when you right click and able to see, view native query, this is the inner query and this is my output. Okay guys, well guys, I already had a meeting at 7:30. I late by 12 minutes. What I will do, let me first stop the recording.